is all that I can give to you. Love is more than just a game for two. Two in love can make it. Take my heart and please don't break it. Love was made for me.
Hey, welcome to WBGR Sports Network and the Tom the Bomb Sports Talk Show. And this is the day that the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. If you don't think it's a great day, just try missing one. And we L-O-V-E, love sports. On the Tom the Bomb Show, I'm your host, Tommy Wood. Our co-host today is Mr. Troy Wood. And later on, we're going to have Mr. Felix Bassey to talk about some hockey. We got another fantastic show for you guys today. As usual, we want to say Happy New Year to you. We also want to thank God for everything that He's doing for us in 2024. Remember, our theme for 2024 is the year of big purpose. And our goal is to keep our eye on the prize. What is the prize? The prize is the Word. And the enemy only comes from the Word. He's coming to kill, steal, and destroy. So we are going to keep our focus on the Word, which will allow us to ignore life's daily distractions. And that's what we're doing this year. Hey, let's start off with our poll question, Troy. We got a good poll question today. Alrighty, our poll question today is, should Darvin Ham have been fired? Should Darvin Ham have been fired, Troy?
You want me to answer it now?
Yeah, man. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it, man.
Should Darvin Ham have been fired?
I think that he should have got one more year to prove himself. Losing to Denver twice, in your stint as the head coach is, a tough thing to put on your resume, especially considering you got swept the first year and then you got beaten Game 5 the second year. What I will say, though, is that even though he did get fired, the team was starting to, find its rhythm during the time in which it mattered, and that's a sign of good camaraderie between the team. That's a sign of good chemistry, and I just think that if it wasn't for Jamal Murray, I don't even think we would have this conversation right now. So I don't think that he should have been fired, but there is blame on his side.
Really? What kind of blame on his side, man? He took these guys to the finals last year. He only in his second year. They mortgaged their future when they brought in Westbrook, and they got rid of all their bench players, and then they used him as a scapegoat. I'm having a hard time finding out what Darvin Ham did wrong. Now, hey, he's not the greatest X's and O's guys out there, but Darvin Ham didn't miss any shots. Darvin Ham didn't have anything to do with them. And even more important than that, they just lost to a better team.
But he's still the head coach. And quite honestly, even though, yes, Denver is the better team, they are better than Los Angeles, they did lead the series for a wide majority of this series and still lost in Game 5. That's a sign of losing at the worst time that coaching can make an impact on. And I feel as if he would have took over the situation in from the third and fourth quarter better during his time against Denver in the playoffs, he'd be still the head coach. But because they fell off at the worst time and they played, basketball that wasn't smart at the worst times, it reflected on them losing. So that does fall on the head coach, in my opinion. But like I said, it's not all his fault.
Well, I thought, for the most part, that LeBron and AD played a great series against Denver. But AD disappeared in the fourth quarter every game. He would have like 25 points in the third quarter, and then he'd end the game with like 26 points.
And whose fault is that?
And that's not the coach's fault. Because LeBron would take over the ball in the fourth quarter. And yes, LeBron numbers would go up, but I felt like for the Lakers to win that series against Denver, I really felt like that Anthony Davis had to be the big star. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. But here's the thing. If you want a point of emphasis to get AD the ball in those situations, that's the coach's responsibility to do so. Last I checked, he's the one, coming up with game plans in a half-court set. Here's the thing. You can't tell an NBA player what to do on a fast break situation. Either you know what to do or you don't know what to do. Either you know how to get the ball to the right person or you know how to reset and then run a play in the half court. When they get to the half court, that's on the coach to make sure that they find a way, either by running pick and roll with LeBron, which they did a lot with AD, and it was almost unstoppable. You got to keep going back to the bread and butter. The times that you try to get people involved in the game at the worst time, that's when you lose credibility. So that's why, like I said, I stand strong on he did make mistakes, and a better coach situation, the Lakers should have won this series, quite honestly, because they played Denver, better than a lot of other teams, but they just didn't finish. So that's a sign of coaching.
Well, your boy LeBron has been catching some heat. Number one, because they say he never takes responsibility for anything. LeBron has had 9 different coaches, and it seems like the issue is with all of the different coaches. And it's never an issue, with LeBron. What's your take on that? Now,
Well,
in fairness, a lot of players have a lot of different coaches, but LeBron has had 9. What's your take?
Well, here's the thing. It is a lot to put on LeBron. It's more on LeBron than it is the coaching staff. LeBron and AD, in my opinion, and he can't, run away from that. But with that being said, it's kind of hard to go in that situation and coach him. Because here's the thing. It's not like he's not coachable. It's just, what are you going to tell arguably the greatest player ever? Arguably. I'm not saying he is. I'm saying arguably, right? So it's one of those things where in certain situations, if you come up with a play, just like what Frank Black did back when he was the coach in Cleveland, he came up with a play in the final seconds, and it didn't involve LeBron taking the last shot. And he said, "Nah, I'm not trying to hear that. That we're not doing that. You're going to throw me the ball in the corner. I'm gonna take one dribble and I'm gonna shoot." And sure enough, that's what happened. So it's just one of them things where he's one of those specific players that the players look at him more than they do the coach. Like, he's more the head coach than the head coach is. And, you need to find a coach that can actually know how to work with that, but not only, stand off and just let him do what he does when he wants to, but also come in and take control when he needs to. And I think Tyronn Lue is a good guy for that.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that, because the hot rumor is that J.J. Redick is next on the chopping block to become the Lakers' new head coach. He and LeBron have a podcast together. What's your thoughts on J.J. Redick being the next Lakers head coach?
I love it, because here's the thing. It's a younger mind. It's a different culture, and it's going to reflect on the gameplay. The best thing that could have happened for Boston was Udoka. Here's the thing. Udoka still had the team in a good position, but once they brought in that intern and they adapted his style of play and the things that they do day in and day out, it's the reason why they're 14 games ahead of the number 2 seed in the East as the number 1 seed. And with Brad Stevens being the head mastermind of all the basketball operations for Boston, that's a young mindset, it's a young culture, and it translates well to how guys play today. So I think that's a good sign if J.J. Redick becomes the coach.
Well, but J.J. Redick ain't coached nowhere, Troy. Nowhere.
It don't matter. It doesn't matter. Here's the thing. Like I said, especially at this level, being able to understand situations is what's going to make you a good coach or not. And sometimes prior experience doesn't mean that you have an advantage on someone or not. Basketball is like life. Things constantly change and evolve in this game. And when you have a guy that understands his thing, J.J. Redick is a catch and shoot guy, and he can play defense for you in the half court. That's all I ask for. That translates well into being a coach, because in certain situations you just gotta let guys go. You're not going to tell grown men in the NBA what to do when they get a 3-on-2 situation. Either you, like I said, you know what to do or you don't. That's just common. But when it comes to being able to understand, like, okay, let's take off time off the clock. Let's make sure we run sets that gets us all the way to the 2-second mark, and then rely on our rebounding to then extend the play or to get an easy bucket right after that. That's understanding situations. And I feel like J.J. Redick, based off the coaches that he's had in the past, the situations he's been in, he's played for Coach K, he's a Dookie, You feel me? Like he's a basketball facade guy. He understands what he's doing. And I think that would translate well with the personality of LeBron James.
All righty. Hey, gang, what are we watching tonight? We watching the NBA playoffs. Playoffs. Yep, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Game 1, we got at 7:30. We got the Indiana Pacers versus the New York Knicks, and then Game 2 is at 10 p.m., which is the Timberwolves versus the Nuggets. Troy, just real quick, what's your take on the Pacers and the Knicks series kicking off tonight?
I think that the Pacers should come out firing, and they're going to set the tone for this series. And I think that they're going to win this series when it's all said and done.
Well, I think the Pacers have the better team, but I think the Knicks got something going, man. I really do. And the thing that I like most about the Knicks, number one, one of the things that you always talk about, Troy, is people having chemistry, like the quarterback and the wide receiver for the Cincinnati Bengals both playing at college together.
Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Well, the New York Knicks basically is Villanova, with Hart and Brunson and DiVincenzo.
Yep.
I mean, those guys have serious chemistry together, and I think it helps them. The thing that I'm excited and I like about the Knicks, Troy, is they seem to win every 50-50 ball. If the ball is on the floor, they're coming up with it. If it's an extra rebound, they're coming up with it. And, offense sells tickets, defense wins game, rebounding win championships.
I agree. And they're the number one rebounding team in the NBA, and that does translate well. I just think Indiana's too high pace for them.
Well, we're going to see. That's a good point. And
I'm letting you know right now, Indiana being a 6th seed is an advantage for Indiana because, quite honestly, it's going to get them in a good position to where, all right, if they beat the New York Knicks, now we got to go against Boston to get to the championship as opposed to playing them to get to the championship game. To the Eastern Conference Championship to begin with. So we'll see.
Okay, that's our first game for tonight, and we're going to come back to the second game later in the show. But let's get on into the NBA playoffs. Let's, the most exciting thing in sports, and we're going to talk about this because we had two of them. The two most exciting words in sports is Game 7, okay? And we had a Game 7 with the Cleveland Cavaliers versus the Orlando Magic. Donovan Mitchell, we can go ahead and run the video on this. Donovan Mitchell refuses to let the Cavaliers lose as he scored 39 points in the game to beat the Orlando Magic. Mitchell brought redemption and relief to himself and the Cavaliers a year after falling in the first round last year. After being down 18 in the first half, the Cavs rallied for a 106-94 win over the Magic. Mitchell scored 50 points, 50 piece in Game 6, Troy, which they end up losing at Orlando, but he put the Cavs on his back in Game 7. It's the largest comeback in a Game 7 in the NBA. Evan Mobley grabbed 16 boards, and Darius Garland scored 10 of his 12 points in the fourth quarter with a critical three-pointer late. Now, Paolo Banchero scored 38 points and had 16 rebounds to lead the Magic, and to me, he looked like the best player on the floor, Troy. Like I said, with the rebounds, poor shooting late again cost the Magic, just like in Game 1. What was your take on this one, Troy?
Like you said, good to see a good comeback. Game 7 is always electric. When it mattered the most, the Cavaliers' best player showed up, and he performed. 39, 9, and 5 is something you can't snooze at. And, it's good to see Donovan Mitchell and company moving forward. It's good for that city to see that past LeBron, they still have a team to root for. So, good for them.
Besides Donovan Mitchell, tell me what you like about this Cavaliers team.
Okay, so besides Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, he's starting to become his own player. He's a great two-way player, can stretch the floor out from about 20 feet. I like the fact that they have youth. They play pretty deep. picking up Max Strus is huge because it gives a guy that has playoff experience an opportunity to thrive within this young team. Darius Garland is a great two-way point guard. I love Darius Garland.
I like
He
his game
didn't
too.
score too much. He only scored 12 points in this game. But, having him on the court just makes things so much easier for them, especially in the half court.
Yeah, he seems to play within himself.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. He's never going to lose his composure, So ultimately, I feel like they have, a lot of young pieces that they can build on. It's just unfortunate because they're not going to beat Boston. So it's like I'm happy for them. But, moving on from this series, the Magic, if you're an Orlando fan, you have a lot to look forward to. Only thing that I'm a little worried about from Orlando's standpoint is they got all these young guys playing these minutes. And, you got some guys like Gary Harris who's been in the league for at least the past, 6-7 years. And he's not really performing for the amount of minutes that he's playing. So they just need to find the good role players around Van Curl and Wendell Carter and Jalen Suggs. And they can, build from that point.
So nobody, and you just said it out of your mouth, but nobody's giving the Cavs a chance against the Celtics. But and the Celtics have clearly been the best team all year. But the Celtics have a tendency to kind of get lost in games, almost like they lose interest. I think if that happens, that's the only chance the Cavs have. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, that's the only chance the Cavs have of winning one game throughout the series.
One game. That's all you're giving them.
Yeah, man. Look. It's been a long time since the East has had one bona fide team that just stands head over heels above everybody else. For the longest, LeBron carried the East. But now, as good as the East is, the East has a lot of talent within their conference. But Boston is just that much better than them. It's not a fluke that they're the number one seed and that they have the record that they do. You win 60-plus games in the NBA in any season, you are a really good team. And them picking up Drew Holiday, people don't understand how much of a relief that is on Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, because you have all defensive guy who's going to be playing in the Olympics that just makes things hard for a good scorer on the other team. And it creates so much offense because defense on the fast break translates to offense, easy offense. And Boston is the best fast break team in the league. And, good luck stopping a team that scores 85 points in one half and then benches everybody within the last 4 minutes of the third quarter. Good luck with that. That's what the Warriors used to do. So with that being said, nobody in the East got a chance against Boston.
Okay, so like that old saying, if you were the last man in the world, so what you're saying is I got a chance, right?
Yeah, slim pickings, but yeah, you got a shot.
But what you're saying is I got a chance, right?
Something like that.
Hey, let's move on. I really want to spend a little time talking about this next game. The game is coming on this evening at 10 o'clock that I'm so excited for. The Timberwolves versus my Denver Nuggets. And I'm going to tell you right up front, I'm really worried about this game. And I just want to go into detail and tell you why what I'm seeing at this game. I don't watch a whole lot of NBA during the regular season, but it doesn't mean that I'm not a fan of the NBA and I don't know what's going on. So let me put this out here, and then I want you to respond to it. Okay, the Timberwolves have been built to beat the Nuggets. Remember how, Troy? You remember how the New England Patriots, the Tom Brady New England Patriots, were dominating their division and basically dominating the NFL. But the other teams in the East, they had to build their teams around how to beat the New England Patriots, right?
Right. Well, like the Jets.
Right. Mm-hmm. So and Miami, because remember Miami would jump up and beat Tom Brady and the Patriots as well. Well, the Timberwolves have been built to beat the Nuggets. This is the NBA's most intriguing second round series. And here's the thing. The Timberwolves are playing chess while other teams are playing checkers. Tim Connolly, a lot of people don't know who he is, but Tim Connolly is the president of basketball operations for the Minnesota Timberwolves. But before that, he was the architect and he ran the Denver Nuggets. Tim Connolly is the guy who drafted Nikola Jokic. He drafted Jamal Murray. He made the trade to bring Aaron Gordon. He made that happen. Then he brought in Michael Porter Jr. So like I said, he's literally the architect of the Denver dynasty right now. So he left and went to Minnesota. So leaving for Minnesota, he brought with him Chris Finch and Micah Nori, now the head coach and top assistant coach that came from Denver to Minnesota with him. So they've basically got the basketball operations guy from Denver and their top two assistants left Denver to go to Minnesota, and their assignment, the job assignment in Minnesota, was to destroy the blueprint they helped design in Denver. This is good. So while it took time to develop in Denver, the young T-Wolves have shot up from the basement to the top of the floor. Conley's first move, which was a controversial move, was the all-in deal to acquire Rudy Gobert that relinquished 4 first-round draft picks and multiple rotation players. And this was thought to be a historically bad trade, Troy. It was a move after being, especially after they got swept in the first round last year by the Nuggets. But since then, Anthony Edwards has morphed into the next coming of Michael Jordan. And to his credit, Anthony Edwards said, "Stop that. I hate people saying I'm the next MJ. Ain't gonna be no next MJ." To his credit. And like I said, but he's the next coming in, and he is a legitimate NBA superstar on the court. I love it, Troy. He's like, kill everything in front of me. That's what he says. I'm just trying to kill everything that's in front of me. And I hate to throw this in here. That's what we don't really see with LeBron. I want to kill every. I love LeBron, but LeBron's a nice guy, man. Kobe wasn't nice. Michael wasn't nice. This Anthony Edwards dude, he ain't nice, man. And what's shocking, man, Troy, is he's a steadying force in the locker room, to be as young as he is. So let me get through this, and I'll let you get in there. Rudy Gobert anchors the defense as an all-defensive force, and he has the young T-Wolves dreaming of the finals. They ain't thinking about beating Denver, Troy. They thinking about winning it all. This series against the Nuggets will be the truest litmus test of their progress and development and how familiar they are with the champion Denver Nuggets. Now, for the Nuggets, victory over the Timberwolves defense, which is the top-ranked unit in the NBA this season, would be the ultimate affirmation of their ability to read and react to that monster offense of Denver. The Nuggets have never faced a defense with the Timberwolves' length, Troy. With the Timberwolves' ball pressure, their depth, their variability, their reactivity, Gobert and McDaniels are creating uncertainty for the champs. The Nuggets run set plays, but the set plays, they're never preordained. They have a pecking order with these plays. Number one, they're looking for a layup. I love Denver, man. They kind of remind me of the San Antonio Spurs. Their number one option is a layup. If they can't get a layup, they're immediately looking for the open three-pointer. And if the open three-pointer in there, then they go into isolation, which is basically self-creating. And then they got the supercomputer brain of the Joker, who up till now, he hadn't met a defense that can handle his processing speed. But now, Rudy Gobert, the head of the Wolves and the Snake, is not only lengthy enough to be in two places in one, but also intuitive, like the Joker. Gobert seems to have eyes in the back of his head, squaring up perfectly to defend the ball. It's like he has a sixth sense-like quality for sagging back when a screener comes up on the off-ball player for a baseline cut. I mean, these guys are playing defense at a level that I ain't seen in a long time in the NBA. Because my whole thing with the NBA is nobody's playing defense. These guys in Minnesota are playing defense. The Timberwolves' key move, Troy, is matching up Karl Anthony Towns with the Joker. Now, Karl Anthony Towns is a little light in the butt to be handling the Joker, but he's got the size and he's got the foot speed. Not that you need a whole lot of speed for the Joker, but he's got the size and the foot speed, Joker. And then they're putting Rudy Gobert on Gordon so their star center can roam the paint and cast the longest shadow we've seen in the league. So they actually have a strategy for this, Troy. The strategy is called the inside play. And what that is, they don't want to let Murray get loose in the fourth quarter. What they want to do is they want to funnel shots to Aaron Gordon. They want to make Aaron Gordon beat them. But remember, the Lakers tried to do that. Nat Wood, Fakers tried to do that. And remember Game 3 against the Fakers where Gordon blew up the Fakers with 29 points and 15 rebounds and LeBron couldn't handle it? It didn't work for the Fakers because Anthony Davis relies more on explosive jumps, or basically he's kind of a read and commit defender. Now Gobert, whose length allows him to cover more ground without selling out. So Minnesota's overall length is a multiplying factor that gives everyone cover. It kind of reminds me of when Georgetown had Patrick Ewing. Everybody else just ran everywhere because Pat was going to block everything at the goal. That's kind of what the Timberwolves are doing. Now, Towns is going to have to man up to the deadly Joker and that Murray pick and roll. Now, Towns can play for the jumper knowing that Rudy Gobert is behind him waiting at the rim. It also helps that the Timberwolves guards are the best screen navigators in the NBA. You got to go over the pick instead of behind it. What's that saying? Hand down, man down. Well, They're big enough to slot down and bump Aaron Gordon, but yet race back to the 3-point line. If Gobert has to overcommit on a drive to the basket, the T-Wolves are creating turnovers with their rotations. Their defensive rotations are beautiful. It's a thing of beauty, man. Their defensive rotations is a thing of beauty. They're a step ahead of the offense, and it's funny because what they're running, Troy, is they're running a conservative scheme with aggressive personnel. And this turns defense into offense without risking being overexposed. They're trying to make the Joker overthink. Now, this was the great promise of bringing Rudy Gobert trade in. And we still haven't even mentioned Naz Reid, who's a good defender who can allow the Timberwolves to get in foul trouble. Now, the Nuggets' best plan is to force the Timberwolves to put Rudy Gobert on the Joker and spread the floor. If they can do that, if they can get Gobert on Joker, this opens up a whole world for the Nuggets, and it's basically what's going to allow the Nuggets to beat the Timberwolves if they can beat the Timberwolves. But I am worried. I think these Timberwolves, I think they're for real. What's your take on what we just talked about?
Going to, what we talked about with their defense, having Rudy Gobert and doing all that to acquire him is naturally going to translate to team defense for everyone else to, play better and up their game on the defensive end. The good thing about Rudy Gobert is it might not seem like it, but he's super vocal on defense. And, in order to be a good defensive team, you have to communicate. I learned this when I played basketball in high school from my coach, who was super, intellect-minded when it came to understanding personnel and understanding fundamentals. He would always bring up Bob Knight. And he will always, bring up, old coach from Indiana. And he will always bring up how when it came to team defense, being able to understand why things are happening will translate into getting more stops. And the way that they rotate, here's the thing. When you can sag off, you brought up a good point about Aaron Gordon. When you can sag off of Aaron Gordon, against the Lakers, his, endorphins are running super high. Everybody and their mama is going to play their best basketball against LeBron James. That's what's going to happen.
Right.
They're going to find a way to up their, up their standards and to, kind of use the momentum of the situation to play better than what they do. Aaron Gordon can stretch the floor, but he's not a shooter. So when you leave Gobert on him, he can actually even wait before he slides over, because even though it's hand down, man down, a good defensive possession doesn't need to result in a block. It just needs to result into a good contest on the shot. And because Rudy Gobert has an insane wingspan, he has good anticipation skills of understanding when to slide over and when to stay in the paint. It's going to get harder for them to time it up to get the shot that they're looking for. And I don't care what the situation is. Out of all the shooters on their team, if I had to live with anybody shooting, it's definitely still Aaron Gordon. If Joker starts hitting threes, you're dead. It's over with. If Jamal Murray gets hot, it's going to be hard to contain that. If Michael Porter Jr. gets hot, which he did, he hit 4 threes in game one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's going to make it really hard for them. But ultimately, the fact that they can, you know, create stops and then find ways to either speed it up and get an easy bucket on the other end, or to slow it down and to run their offense through a half court set, they're playing good team basketball. And there's, even though Anthony Edwards is the go-to guy, there's so many other, you know, forces within Minnesota that makes them tough. The last thing I'm going to say is, you know, Naz Reid is the sixth man of the year. And when you can rotate bigs, like if Karl-Anthony Towns goes down with foul trouble, which he's been in a lot of this series, this playoff so far, when you can bring in a guy that can stretch the floor, play good defense, and finish at the rim, it makes it hard for guys to adjust to that. So I think Minnesota might beat Denver. They're in big trouble.
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up. Nat Wood thinks that Denver's going to win in 7, and that's what I'm hoping for. But Tim says that, first of all, Rudy Gobert may not play tonight for personal reasons. If that's the case, Denver this is a must-win for Denver tonight. So one of Tim's question is, can Minnesota win against the Nuggets without Rudy Gobert, Troy?
It's going to be really hard, but my answer is no. I think that they can do it every once in a while, but majority, no. You know, you need Rudy Gobert in there as a defensive anchor that can help make things, easier for them as a whole to perform. Especially, here's the thing, too. Karl-Anthony Towns gets in too much foul trouble for me. And if Rudy Gobert's out and Karl-Anthony Towns has 3 fouls with 8 minutes left in the second quarter, that's going to make things hard for them to, get in rhythm. So I don't think that they have a chance without Rudy.
Well, what I love, and the point I'm making is, the guy who built this monster team that we see in Denver right now, this is the guy that's building the Timberwolves, and
that's great.
I think they know how to attack them.
Mm-hmm.
I think they know how to attack them, man, and they got that young killer in there, man, who's making the difference, because I just love the way that Ant-Man is taking over the game in the fourth quarter, man. And the other point I wanted to make is, if you score 30 points in an NBA game, that's great. You've done something. But some 30-point games aren't as effective as another 30-point game if they aren't critical points. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
at the right time.
Ant-Man is showing up just like last night, Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell took over that game against Orlando at the right time. That's what Ant-Man has done all 5. The Timberwolves are 5-0 in the playoffs. Playoffs? They're 5-0 in the playoffs, Troy.
Yeah, they have yet to lose the game. That's a great point, too. And the last thing I'm going to say about Anthony Edwards is that, one thing I respect about his game is any great scorer isn't afraid to miss a shot. He could go 0 for 7 from the three-point line going into the fourth quarter and then hit 3 or 4 threes in a row. He's not fazed by, I missed a shot, let me, cool down and let everybody else go. No, if I get an opportunity to score, if I get a good switch on the pick and roll where I got a big that can't keep up with me from a speed perspective, I'm going to look to go and get my bucket, and this team is built around him to do that. He is the number one option on offense, and even with him being the number one option on offense, they still find a way to have everybody around them still be effective. So, yeah, this is a great team, man.
Hey, Troy, Tim wants to know, how do you stop Ant-Man?
How do you stop Ant-Man? You make him shoot. You make him continue to shoot. You can't allow him to get to the rim and find ways to get to the free throw line and get rhythm established. He has to be, literally, you have to, I'm not saying give up the three-point shot to him, but if you had a chance to, stop him in the half court, I would prefer him to beat me from 20 feet and out compared to finishing at the rim.
Right.
You can't, here's the thing, too. He's a slasher, which has the mindset of, I'm the best scorer and the best player on the court at all times. So all he needs is a few layups and a dunk or two to get his mind right. And then after that, you can kiss it goodbye. Like, there's no chance.
Kiss it goodbye?
Yeah, Yeah,
Kiss it
it's
goodbye.
history. You know, it's
Your
just like
history.
from the set. It's history. You
Go ahead and say. Go ahead and say. Shut up, Tommy.
it's son Tommy. Hey, I'm serious. I'm serious though, man. You know, you could cancel Christmas at that point, dog. You know, because at that point, in all seriousness, he turns into a bona fide killer when it comes to scoring. And you like I said, keep letting them shoot. There's going to be some games where it hurts you, and there's going to be some games where he goes 1 for 9 from the 3-point line, and that's what you want. That's something where, even though this isn't relevant to this series, but same thing with LeBron. I don't want that joker in the paint, getting 15 layups on me. He going to hit 14 of them. I want that big joker to shoot. I want Anthony Edwards to shoot on me. If you're going to beat me and score 40-plus points, you're going to need to do it from 20 feet and out.
I agree with you. Tim, I would answer that simply by saying, how do you stop Michael Jordan? You don't. You can't stop that guy. But like Troy said, you rather him shoot from outside on you than go into the lane. Because when he's going to the lane, he's got that great mid-range short jumper. He goes to the basket just like MJ with ferocity, wanting to throw it down on you. So yeah, you got to cut him off. You got to double up, make him pass the ball. But you rather for him, like you said, if he beats you shooting 3-pointers, you can live with that. But if he's getting to the rack, you're done, man. It's over. You can cancel Christmas.
It's history.
Now, another good point is the Joker still scored 32 points. But here's the key: you're not going to stop the Joker from scoring too. But here's the thing with the Joker: you got to stop him from having 16 assists. He can score 32 points. He can score 35 points. But he can't have 15 assists. He can't have 15 rebounds. Because if he's getting the 15 rebounds and the 15 assists, you're dead. So
here's the thing. That's why he the MVP though.
Right. So let him score 32.
That big Joker off the boards and making plays. As a
Listen, the Joker has been a triple-double machine. He didn't even have a double-double in the first game. Now, when's the last time we said that? Because he's a triple-double every game. He didn't even have a double-double in this game. He had 32 points, but he didn't have double-digit rebounds or double-digit assists. And that's
he was like
how
one
you
assist
handle
off from
the
having
Joker.
double.
You cut him off. And what's happening is, the reason Joker had that game is because of this rotation, because they got Karl Anthony Towns on him, they got Rudy Gobert behind him, who's floating, and I don't think people really appreciate Rudy Gobert's wingspan. Everybody thought this was a bad trade, but Tim Connolly, the GM operations of basketball for Minnesota, he knew what he needed to beat the Joker and Murray, and he knew that Rudy Gobert was it.
A multiple-time defensive player of the year. That's a great pickup, man. That's huge.
Well, as far as Denver having the upper hand on coaching, Tim, I see that as a coin flip because, when good coaching has good. I always say this in any sport: a great coach knows how to delegate. Okay, a great coach is not trying to do everything by himself. And that's why when you see NFL teams, they'll go to the Super Bowl, and then the next year, all of their assistants get hired by other teams, and the next year, they aren't the same. Look at the Eagles. They were in the Super Bowl a year, 2 years ago, and then this year, everybody was like, well, what's up with the Eagles? They lost all of their top assistants. Well, that's what Denver did. Denver lost their assistants to the Minnesota Timberwolves, and that's why this matchup is so intriguing for a second-round matchup. To me, this could have been the West Finals.
I'm going to bring up one more thing. Just one more thing about Denver. They missed Bruce Brown so bad.
Yep.
They missed Bruce Brown so bad. Because here's the thing. Jamal Murray is going to give you that spark consistently from the guard spot in the starting rotation. After he gets off the court, Brown, he spells his name Brawn, but it's pronounced Brown. He's not as consistent on the offensive end as Bruce Brown was. And here's the thing: Bruce Brown would give you 20 points off of only 24 minutes on the court.
You're right, Troy, and that's why they were unstoppable, man.
Because here's the thing, man, look, your second team, when your second team can go on a 10-0 run, it ain't much you can do to keep up with a team like that. Because now all the starters are freshened up. They can come in and do their thing without worrying about, okay, we got to create separation. No, we got a 15-point lead, But now he's not in Denver no more. He's in Indiana, and it's only gonna. This is where small pieces play a big part in the overall scheme of things. And Bruce Brown was not the best player for Denver, but he was the best player in certain situations for Denver when they needed it. And they don't have that piece no more.
That's why you got to have depth, and Minnesota has depth as well. Hey, look, we got to take a break, but when we come back, we're going to be talking about the 150th running of the Kentucky Derby. So let's take a break, and we'll be right back.
Talking Windows with Harley and Aaron and special guest Mina.
As a business owner, I only partner with the best.
That's definitely Window Nation.
And experience matters, Harley.
Well, Mina, we have installed over 1 million windows.
And you guys have the best customer service.
Check. 97% customer satisfaction. Plus the best deals.
Now, buy 2 windows, get 2 free with no limit. Plus, put no money down, make no payments, and pay no interest for 24 months.
That's why I'm proud to partner with Window Nation.
The perfect fit.
Sheltered by the Sea of Cortez, Danzante Bay is a pure and peaceful oasis, an uncrowded retreat where your options are as vast as your views. If you're seeking a vacation that defines luxury and the true relaxation, look no further than Villa del Palmar at the islands of Loreto. A splendor of true Mexican hospitality effortlessly blends with rich materials and insatiable comforts to bring guests the ideal home away from home experience. With its quiet beaches, scenic vistas, rich history, and astounding surrounding natural habitat, you'll feel as though you've been swept off to paradise. Not to be outdone, Reese Jones has crafted TPC Danzante Bay, a brilliant, multi-themed 18-hole golf course that runs over and through valleys, arroyos, dunes, and foothills. From every angle, striking images of the islands of Loreto and the surrounding mountain range take your breath away, while the challenging yet rewarding Baja Golf Course beckons you to return for more. It is an honor and my pleasure to welcome you to the world's most beautiful sunset and so much more.
When it comes to cost and quality, you simply cannot do better than Window Nation. For about half the cost of national brands, you get equal if not better quality, saving you thousands of dollars. Right now, get 2 free windows with every 2 you buy. There's no limit. Plus, put no money down, make no payments, and pay no interest for 24 months. Get a free in-home estimate and we'll give you a free gas card. Go to windownation.com for additional details or call 866-95-NATION.
Dan wins the 150th Kentucky Derby. The 150th Kentucky Derby produced one of the most dramatic finishes in its storied history with 3 noses at the wire. Mystic Dan fought to hang on with 2 challengers. I think we got video on this. 2 challengers coming to him in the closing strides. It was the closest finish since 1947, Felix. Mystic Dan's 18-1 shot edged Sierra Leone by a nose, with Forever Young another nose in 3rd place. At the top of the stretch, everything changed. Track Phantom drifted off the rail, opening a hole that Brian Hernandez squeezed Mystic Dan through, and the colt suddenly found another gear and quickly opened up a daylight advantage on the field. When he shot through that spot, he was able to cut the corner, and I asked him to go for it, jockey Brian Hernandez said. he shot off, and I'm like, oh man, I got a big chance to win the Kentucky Derby. The winner's share of the record $5 million purse was $3.1 million. And just like caddies, the jockeys and the trainers typically earn 10% each of the winning pot. So 10% of $3.1 million, you do the math. Man, it was an exciting race, man. You know, a lot of people don't know this, Felix, but Tom the Bomb worked at the racetrack all the way through college. When I would come home, I would go to the racetrack and race. I mean, not race. I would go to the racetrack and work. And so I saw quite a bit of horse racing. And especially in these big races, man, you just can't give up that rail. When you're on the inside, you can't give up that inside rail. And for them to let Mystic Dan squeeze in on that inside rail, usually you squeeze them off. When that happened, and here's the thing, I think the two horses that were chasing him, Forever Young and Sierra Leone, they were much stronger horses with a better kick. But they ran, it's just like in track, they ran farther to get to the finish line than Mystic Dan did. And even with that, he still barely held them off at the nose. Coming down the stretch. I love it when they say that. And he literally edged them by a nose, the closest Kentucky Derby race since 1947. It was really, really exciting. We haven't had a Kentucky Derby race that close in a long time. What was your thoughts on it, Felix?
The Kentucky Derby.
Yes.
Well, I think you pretty much said everything there's to be said. I mean, you look at a race, you look at something that came down to the wire that close. I think it's pretty much a universal concept in sports. Excitement, the adrenaline rush, it just coming down to the last second.
Yeah, man.
So
yeah, it's a big build up for a pretty quick race. You know what I'm saying?
absolutely.
And but I'm telling you, it was really exciting. And man, I mean, that's all you want, that finish, man. When I was when I was in college, as an athlete, played a little football. The athletes always worked the other sports, so we would have to work at the track meets. And one year, I had to pick the person who came in third in the 100-meter dash. And man, that's just like this horse race, man. You can tell who wins, but who comes in second and third? Oh man, that is so hard to see, man. And this was really, really on the mirror, at the nose. What an exciting race! Great race by Brian Hernandez. Great job of riding. Mystic Dan pulled it off at 18-1. That's going to pay nicely. Hey, so let's move on to why Felix is here. The NHL 2024 playoffs. We are at the Stanley Cup playoffs, and the greatest two words in sports, Felix, Game 7. Take us away,
Yes.
Felix.
Speaking of Game 7s, that is the perfect, and I mean the absolute perfect preface for what we're going to get into, because in the first round of the playoffs, we've already seen 2 Game 7s, one from each conference. So, of course, last night you have the defending Stanley Cup champions getting dethroned by the Dallas Stars, and the day before that, you had a solid Toronto Maple Leafs team, and I think this is the best Maple Leafs team we've seen in some generations, I dare to say. Mm-hmm. And that team made a comeback from a 3-1 deficit, but unfortunately, the Bruins stumped out with the Game 7. Both Game 7s ending in very low-scoring 2-1 games. So, of course, I've become more so accustomed to seeing the higher-scoring games because the sport of hockey's got faster, more skilled. But I'll have to say, you look at that was just a low-scoring series between the Toronto Maple Leafs and Boston Bruins. So that's more so reminiscent of classic old-school hockey than you look at the series between Dallas and the Golden Knights. Also, again, 2-1 to end it. So,
Well, the defense
really,
shows up, Felix.
Excuse me?
The defense shows up, man. Play off anything, the intensity level in defense shows up.
Well, as much as I would like to say that, here's my takeaway. So I'll say for the Bruins and the Maple Leafs, the defense was definitely, absolutely the factor there because both goalies had very high save percentages. It wasn't a case of low-scoring games because you had few shots on goal, Capitals, but it was because the goalies were showing up in those games. Then you look at other games where, and I have to be honest with you, I'm looking around the league, around the NHL. For some reason, I'm seeing offenses going a little sloppier than I'm used to. So that's definitely not something
how about that missed backhander, man? You lose 2-1 and you miss an open net like that?
Yeah, that's just something you just don't like to see. And I think, like I said, it's something that it's hurting the experience a bit for me. Same thing I said about basketball. As much as I like to see the fact that the shooters are yet better shooters than ever, but at the same time, what happens to the organization of the offense that sets up the good plays, the high percentage plays? Then, of course, the skilled players, they help with that. They add on to it. They add on to it. But what we're seeing, I can just go on and on with that, but overall, I think sloppy play is not really helping either the NHL or the NBA. But I'm sorry, I keep segueing into other sports. Let's stay on hockey for now. Because
come on, you know we do that. We always segue in other sports. I mean, case in point, that backhand shot he missed on goal, that's equivalent to a guy missing a layup at the end of the game to tie or win the game. That's equivalent to missing a layup. You just not going to get that shot in hockey to be that open. It's one of those things where amateurs will say, I could have made that shot. And yet here's this professional NHL hockey player in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and he misses that shot.
Yep, and it just goes to the fact of being into being a clutch player. I get it. It's a fast sport. I get it. There's a lot at hand. People do slip up, but there's certain moments you got to know. You have to have something in you to know that, hey, I need to do this. I need to do this now. I need to avoid mistakes, and this is the time I do that. And that's what made the clutch players that are the best recognized. You look at Joel Ward with the Capitals in the early to mid 2010s. He had game-winning shots in overtimes of postseason games. You have Mike Green, also from the Capitals. His nickname is Mike Game Over Green for that same reason. You look at Devontae Smith-Pelly. He's a hero of the 2018 championship. Even though a lot of people don't remember his NHL career for the most part, no one will ever forget about his clutch from beginning to the end of that playoff run in 2018.
So, Felix, what can we look forward to moving farther in the Stanley Cup playoffs? What can we look forward to?
Well, I did say earlier that my favorite to win the Stanley Cup would be the Florida Panthers. So I would say that for the most part it stands. I would say that out of the East, I'm still not sold on Boston. I'm telling you this. I don't think Boston's going to win the East, but I definitely think the Hurricanes versus Rangers series may very well be a tie-up. I know that the Rangers are currently up 1-0. I still have the Hurricanes in that one. But out west, I would say this. I was thinking the Oilers could do it. I was really thinking the Oilers, but I'm thinking it's most likely going to be Western Conference Final, Oilers versus Avalanche. Oilers have the star power. They're playing the best hockey they've played since the Gretzky era, but at the same time, I'm looking at the Avalanche. I'm also looking at that bench depth. I'm looking at their star power. And honestly, I think it's going to be a more competitive series than what we were given in 2022. But at the same time, I think it's going to be the same results, Avalanche on top. But I'll say this: if the Oilers win the West, they win the Cup. That's what I'd say. But if the Oilers win the West, they probably win the Cup. If the Avalanche win the West, I would probably say a team from the East would win. But overall, it's kind of like basketball. The West is dominant in basketball. The East is dominant in hockey. So I'd say that the West's best chance of winning is through the Oilers. The East's best chance, I'd say the East should be the favorite either way.
Okay.
That's what I meant to say. But that's pretty much it.
Okay, real quick before I let you go, going off sport, tell me who you like, the Denver Nuggets or the Minnesota Timberwolves. Who do you like?
Ooh, so I would say I would probably have to side with the Timberwolves, but I don't think the Nuggets are going to go quietly.
All righty, look, we got to bring you back because we got to find out what your Washington Nationals are up to coming up, all right?
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot, Felix. All righty. All right, hey, gang, that just about wraps up the show. We're going to close out the show with some birthday shout-outs. Hey, happy birthday to my Aunt Evelyn, who turned 102 this week. Woohoo! 102 years old, and she's still doing fine. She's still beautiful. She still has that beautiful countenance, and we were able to go up to Mount Vernon, New York, and spend the weekend with her, and it was really, really nice. She was so happy to see us. She didn't know we were coming, but listen, man, for 102, you get up and go, man, because listen out there, listen. We'll travel all the way across the country for somebody's funeral. Man, you got to give people their flowers while they can still appreciate them. So we just want to give Aunt Evelyn a happy birthday shout out at 102 years old. We love you, Grammy. All righty. Hey, also want to give a shout out to the boss, Harley Magnan, one of the owners of Window Nation, one of our sponsors here on the Tom the Bomb Show. Happy birthday, boss. You thought I was going to forget you? Oh, no. You got to follow the money, baby. So happy birthday to Harley. I hope you get whatever you want if you haven't already gotten it. Happy birthday, Harley. Yep, there's Harley. There's Aaron, the owners of Window Nation. Happy birthday, boss. And then lastly, I want to give a birthday shout out to my man, Charles Chuck Gus Wood, my baby brother. Happy birthday, Chuck. Hey, man, you always be one of my favorite people on the planet. Happy birthday, brother. You have no idea how much I love you. Since the day you were born, you've always had a special light shining. You embody what it means to be a loving sibling. For that, I am forever grateful, brother. There's nothing in the world that could ever stop me from loving you. I'll always be your biggest supporter, wishing you you're one of the most charismatic and funny guys on the earth. What do you mean funny? Funny like I amuse you? Like I'm a clown? Yeah. Don't stop being the kind soul that you are. When you blow out your candles, I pray all your wishes come true. May your personal new year bring love, peace, happiness, and so I'm grateful to call you my brother, and most importantly, I'm grateful to call you my friend. When times are good and when they're bad, you're always there to back me. No one makes us laugh like you do. Your sense of humor is matched only by Curtis. I love you and I appreciate you for it. Have a great birthday, brother Gus. Alrighty, that's it. That takes us out. Hey, we didn't have trivia. Hey, for dynamic, in-depth analysis and highlights for the Washington football team and DC Sports and more, check out the Washington Sports Den on Thursdays at 2 p.m. on WBGR with my main man, Felix Bassi. Man, time flies when you're having fun. We're out of time here, but we sure do thank you for spending your time with us. Listen, may the gates of heaven open and pour an abundance of blessings down on you where there won't be room enough to contain it. Remember, if you want it, you got to confess it with your mouth and believe it died on the cross and that he rose on the third day, not a Thursday, just for you. Remember, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. And hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. God bless you. We'll see you on this same bat time, on this same bat station. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you. We love you. Have a blessed evening.
I'm about to blow up. I'm the bomb and about to blow up. Whoa, 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 okay, 1 for the money and a 2 for the show, but 3 to be a legend even if I'm poor. I ain't chasing nothing, you gon' have to catch me, and if you wanna taste, you gon' have to pay a fee. I'm the bomb and about to blow up. I'm the bomb and about to blow up.